welcome to episode 55 of Chew on This, a Nerds United podcast. I'm BJ.
Vic.
And I was just thinking at 55, I was like thinking of that Sammy Hagar song, or what is it? Was it I Can't Drive 55? Or was that Van Halen or Sammy Hagar?
I have no clue.
You're like, I don't give a shit.
That's not what this podcast is about. I came out of nowhere, and I'm not editing that out.
I just saw 55. I'm just like, anyway. It's been a very interesting week, to say the least. But I was really surprised by Moana. I was really pleasantly surprised because earlier this year Disney came out with Zootopia, which we raved and raved about. In some ways, Disney animation is almost dare I say, surpassed Pixar a little bit as far as storytelling.
It actually has.
Yeah.
Because
but we
of that,
can get into that a little bit.
Yeah.
More. Yeah.
Well, basically, I was just going to say that it has because of just one movie, and that's The Good Dinosaur. Basically, even again, we've said that The Good Dinosaur isn't bad; it's just not great.
Right.
But anyway,
But this movie's great. So right now, just the boring stuff. Rotten Tomatoes has this at 97%, and this is like 117 reviews in, which is very, very good. And the box office so far, I mean, right now it's just Saturday, so they're sitting at like 25 million, but they're projecting upwards between 75 and 85 million for this movie, which really, I mean, that's nothing to scoff about. It's pretty good.
actually, it would
has legs.
It would surpass Frozen of 2 years ago.
Really?
2 or 3 years ago. Yeah.
Frozen had legs.
65 million. It opened Thanksgiving weekend.
Oh, okay.
And
cool.
And Moana is about to kick its ass.
Nice. Well, I was probably one of the very few that was not a big fan of Frozen, but again, I don't think that was my demographic anyway.
I didn't mind it. It's not my demographic, but for your kids, when they're in the demographic, you're in the demographic. So I watched it. It was okay. I mean, it was the beginning of the change that Disney has been making in how you view princesses. So we'll get into that too later on, because this movie has done things that have made Disney come almost, not full circle is the right term, but have grown tremendously since Frozen.
Absolutely. So talk a little bit about the crew. I found out the director, Roger Clements, actually there's, I think, 4 directors on this, like 2 directors and 2 co-directors, but I don't remember their names. But Roger Clements was like really huge and instrumental in movies like, Little Mermaid and Aladdin, that time where animation was just blowing up for Disney.
Well, you can't forget John Musker too. He's part of that.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Treasure Planet. I like that movie actually. Princess and the Frog was the last animated movie that they made, the 2D animated. And then of course, the music was. I'm not a big music guy when it comes to some of these movies, but like I like the way Tarzan did it, with Phil Collins, and they made an event out of it as far as musical. But this movie did a really awesome job with the music. It wasn't cheesy at all. It worked very well for the scenes in which they did sing. And I wasn't bored or like, oh my God, like get through this song. I want to get to the action again. It was really well done. And you can thank Lin-Manuel Miranda for that, who's right now blowing up with the Hamilton musical. And he was hired to do the Mary Poppins sequel, which stars Emily Blunt. So now I'm actually interested in seeing that because I like the music a lot. What did you think about?
He had a lot of help. And what makes this movie so great is a lot of the background stuff, and I'll get into that too. But it's not just him. He was actually hired before Hamilton blew up.
Yes, that's
there's
true.
Very little known about him before, but what piqued the people behind the scenes about Lin-Manuel was that he was able to adjust the music or make the music blend with seamlessly with different languages, and that was very important to the filmmakers of this movie. As you'll find out later. I mean, I guess we can just get to it right now. You wanna go
Yeah,
over the
yeah, go
plot?
for it.
You wanna go over the plot real quick before we get into that?
Yeah, just real quick. Yeah, I mean, basically, I don't know if you really want to get into spoiler territory or not, but essentially, it's a,
Yeah, there's not in this
uh,
movie. There's in this review. I don't think we need to go too spoilerific about it.
mhm.
There will be minor spoilers, but just run over the plot really quickly, like just an overview. Don't give
Well,
details
it's
about it.
just right. It's just it's a coming of age story. About a girl who's going to inherit the tribe that and on the island that she lives, and she kind of goes on this adventure that is brought about by her grandmother, who encourages her to live her life and stuff like that. And then on the other side, you have Maui, played by really well by The Rock. The dude can sing too, by the way, which is pretty cool. Um, who basically wanted, we don't know if he's a good or bad guy. I won't reveal that. But he takes something that kind of starts destroying the islands, but he doesn't take it out of malice. At least we don't know that until later, kind of thing. But you know, it kind of everything starts deteriorating. She has to go on an adventure to try to restore the balance, and she has to work with him, essentially. And so that's it in a nutshell. I mean, it's we'll go over like the technical stuff, but the story is not anything like brand new, but it kind of was refreshing in a way because of the mystical things that they did with it. And the oh god, the scene with the crab was really super cool.
So what
But
makes
they don't.
yeah. Yeah, no, you're
Yeah.
right. It's the basis story is basically just a coming of age story. What it does really well, and what it does, and this evolution of the Disney princess, even though she's really not a princess because she's going to be a chieftain, not a princess, or a queen, is that
Right.
it takes the damsel in distress and starts flipping it on its head. And what I've read about this movie is that they wanted to make a hero movie, and it had nothing
Hmm.
to do with wanting the female to, or the girl in this case, to want to be running away because of they didn't want to marry the prince, or they want to marry somebody else, or they want to be with somebody else, anything like that. They stripped that completely away. Her main motivation is to help her people. Um,
Yes.
so that I mean, getting into the whole coming of age story is Disney has done that before, but they've always tied it down or anchored the female character or the main character that's a princess always to a love interest. And in this
Right.
movie,
Which
there's none. There's zero love interest. That's not much of a
yeah.
spoiler, but there's no love interest in this movie, and it's not even needed. Um, that's so, like, as you were saying, the story is not complicated. It's just a coming of age story,
Hmm.
about a person who goes above and beyond to try to save her people. And but what makes this story, or the visual aspect of this movie and the story aspect of this movie so well, is so amazing, is that I don't know shit about Polynesian culture, and this
No,
stuff
I
was
don't either.
so freaking cool. Everything that I
Yeah.
saw them do and talk about, and the way they live, the way they respect nature, all the stuff that they did was so cool. And I've never seen, like, we've all seen magic and stuff like that. We've all seen um, the Romans and their Greek gods, the Roman gods, all
Hmm.
these, even like comic books and all that stuff. We've seen all that stuff, but I've never seen anything like this before. Um, I don't know. What did you think about the mysticism of this movie?
Well, the cool thing is that a number of things. I went to Hawaii, a few months ago, and I've been there before a few times before that. But this last time, I really wanted to stay away from touristy stuff. I just wanted to go where the locals go, hang out, at local places, ma and pa shops and restaurants and things like that, and really immerse myself in the culture versus just like going to the Sheraton and going to the bar or something like that. So watching this movie, it kind of like, I mean, I really didn't bring like it. made me think about Hawaii in a certain way, but also it made me think about like I want to go back there now and do more. Like go to actually the Polynesian Culture Center and like actually talk to some of the locals and whatnot. Because I really loved the that aspect of it. I love that the storytelling, and I'm sure there's a lot of stories that Indians have told the United States, before we came along and took everything. But there's a lot of stories that they would tell, and the Polynesians aren't anything different. But it's those stories and the culture and all that stuff that I'm extremely interested in. Um, as far as like uh, I just had it on the tip of my tongue, but as far as the mysticism, it feels like Disney's really like stretching out and going into that realm like they never have before, like with Doctor Strange and now this movie, and then of course Warner Brothers. We just talked about Fantastic Beasts last week, but that's a normal magic thing. But the BFG Disney went into, there's all these like they're kind of like leaning toward these really interesting stories that deal with mysticism and magic almost, and and these oral traditions, or these type of things. So I really dug this movie. I loved Finding Dory, and I love Zootopia. For what I mean, Zootopia is my favorite probably animated film still of this year, but Moana did something different, that I really enjoyed. And on top of that, the technical aspect of it was fantastic, and the music and the acting, everything was like top notch. Where I really thought before I went into this movie that I was going to see a Pixar movie. Someone had to tell me, no, this is a Disney animated movie, like from Frozen, and and the, or I think maybe you told me that the other day. I can't remember, but um, they're just killing it. Disney animation is just killing it. They're finally like doing something different other than Tangled and what are the other movies that they've done.
Yeah,
So,
it started with Tangled, their slow comeback for me anyway. It started with Tangled.
mm,
Then it
mm-hmm,
was I don't know, this is not the right order, but it was Tangled, Big Hero 6,
mm-hmm.
Frozen, I'm missing one. Of course, this year's Utopia, now Moana. Yeah, this movie's gorgeous. It's probably one of the most beautiful uh, movies I've seen. It rivals the scenery in The Good Dinosaur. Actually, it's 100
Mm-hmm.
times better than the scenery in The Good Dinosaur, and I was blown away by how realistic that scenery was. And of course,
Yes.
the shitty dinosaurs ruined that movie, but this movie is absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, the interesting aspect that I found out today also is that the tattoos that are moving on his body, on Maui's body,
Yes.
are actually hand drawn. So
What?
yeah, it's computer generated, the movie obviously, but the aspect of the tattoo and the of when he interacts with the tattoo and the tattoos move around his body are the old school hand drawn
Oh,
animation.
that's so cool. That this is Roger Clements. This is his first foray into the computer graphic animation, right?
I believe so. I believe so, but
Yeah.
it's not the first time Disney has dealt with Polynesian people. It started back with Lilo and Stitch, actually.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember that.
but
I do remember that
they
movie.
took tremendous care with this movie in trying to get it right, and the culture and the mythology of Maui, and the beliefs of the people, of the Polynesian
Mm-hmm.
people. They took major care with this. They actually, I think it was Clemens and who did I say the other guy's name was again?
Oh, I forgot already. There's four directors on this thing.
Musker. It was Musker and Clemens who actually came up with
Musker. Yeah.
the original idea. The original idea was actually supposed to be about Maui, and he had a strong female, either women in his life that affected the story, but they had decided to
Mm-hmm.
go with a young girl. And it actually, the story derived from, they were, I think, on vacation or something, and they had saw this documentary or something where they found out about the Polynesians as navigators, very proud
Mm-hmm.
navigators, and for 2,000 years. and all of a sudden it just stopped for like no reason. Nobody knows why it stopped, and then it all of a sudden started to back up again. And I think it
Oh,
was,
wow.
and then it was Clemens who thought it would be interesting. Wouldn't it be interesting if it was a 16-year-old girl was the reason why they started back up again? Um, and that's where the
Oh,
story,
that's so
that's
cool.
where the story came about, or started to anyway. So what had
Mhm.
happened was Clemens and Musker go to Lasseter, who is now chief like animation head honcho at Disney. He oversees all the
Yep.
animation that goes on at Disney. They bring this to
Yep.
him. They bring this story. It's like, hey, we want to deal with this Polynesian culture. We want to deal with this magic and mythology. And Lasseter basically says, go research it. You go fly over
Awesome.
there. And they spent, so this is back all the way in 2012, I believe, that they started
Mhm.
this through research. So they actually went there and they started gathering like all these local well-respected people like scientists, linguists, archaeologists, all dealing with the Polynesian culture and mythology, all this stuff, the sociologists, all this stuff. They even went to people, local people who did music. Lin-Manuel had help from the local people when he was
That's
hired.
awesome.
When he was hired, he flew over there. He flew over to one of the islands to, I think, actually no, he flew over to New Zealand to actually
Oh, okay.
uh, but the Polynesian culture is heavy in New Zealand too. That's why he went there. So anyway, so that so Lin Manuel had everybody, every aspect of this film had help, everything. Um,
They
they
had two there was 2 New Zealanders that were in the movie too.
right, yeah.
The guy who played Jango Fett in the Star Wars movie, he was the chief, and then Jermaine Clement of what is that? That HBO show, the Concords, Flight of the Concords. He did the voice of the big crab, Tamatoa, I think his name was.
Well,
But
interestingly,
anyway,
the original, the first screenplay was actually written by what's his, how do you pronounce his name, Takai Waititi, TT, from
oh yeah, yeah.
um isn't he part of Flight of the Concords or no?
I can't remember. I don't remember the other guy's name. I only know Jermaine because he does a lot of voiceovers. He was in the BFG as one of the ogres, and he does like a lot of voiceover stuff. But he was the crab, and he's a really funny singer. I don't know if you ever listen to the Flight of the Concords or watch the HBO show, but it's genius. It's so good, and he's super funny,
Yeah,
like a better version of
he was the Flight of the
yeah,
Concords. But
yeah. Oh, okay.
he has Polynesian, like he's
Oh,
Polynesian or
that's
something like
awesome.
that or something like that. Well, anyway, he wrote the first screenplay for the movie. So
Very cool.
this I don't want to say brain trust because they called it something completely different. Um, they didn't call it a brain trust. Trust me, not that.
Right.
They called it a. Give me 1 second. I had it here. Um, Oh, on a side note, they called it the Oceanic Trust, um,
No, okay.
but it had every person in the Oceanic Trust was part of the Polynesian culture, so that they're either Polynesian or an archaeologist that knew exactly what was going on. And they would actually show them parts of the film or show them early designs, like for example, the Rock. They basically took the Rock or Dwayne Johnson when he's when in the early drawings of Maui was he was actually bald, and they basically took the Rock's like facial structures and or I'm sorry,
Hmm.
head, and made him bald because the Rock was bald.
Hmm.
And they took it to a sociologist or an archaeologist and said, "You can't do that. You need to give him hair." Like it's
Oh,
almost,
wow.
yeah, it's almost like who's that? Samson. uh, in their culture, hair is very important, and it's where their mana is from. So they gave him the hair, and to
Ah,
influence his hair, do you know who Troy Polamalu is?
yes.
Ex Steeler,
He's
Polynesian
Yep,
himself, Polynesian
yep.
himself from Hawaii.
From
Um,
the Steelers, yeah, Pittsburgh Steelers.
so remember his hair? That's where
Oh, I
they took
yeah.
that, they were influenced by his hair. And if you look at if you look at Maui, that's where his hair originates from.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense now.
So there's so much. So I don't know how Disney goes from Pocahontas to not giving a shit of how fucking wrong something is to this movie where they take so much care with this movie. There's a couple things that they had to go back and forth with, like the fact that Moana was going to take over the tribe, and that normally wouldn't happen in their culture. But
Hmm.
they knew what they were doing, and they kind of like let that slide. Also, there were some flowers in the movie that didn't happen until the Europeans they met the Europeans, but they let that slide because the animators just wanted visually some colors in there, so it wasn't disrespect. It was that
Right.
visually looking, they just wanted some colors in there.
Basically something minor. But you were talking about, I think, offline about the controversy. Besides all this good stuff that you're talking about, there
Oh,
was
right.
some controversy about the film as well.
So there was two things. There was the even after they changed the design of the rock. Sorry, I keep doing that. Even after they changed the design of Maui,
Hmm.
they thought it was that he looked plumpy, basically, and
Hmm.
that's that stereotype of what Polynesian people look like. They're short and out of shape, or like fat and lazy. That was a
Okay.
stereotype that they were afraid of, but they took they you know they had that ocean quote unquote oceanic trust, and they thought it was okay, minus the hair, which they fixed. So
Right.
there was a reason for their designing him that way. um so I think because after learning that they actually, you know if you're gonna do a movie and you design a character and it's going to be a stereotype, you would think the sociologist, the archaeologist, all these local people that you have going for like basically approving the movie for you so that you don't piss off
Right.
Polynesian people, and then they let that
Yes.
slide. I'm okay with it. And plus, if you see the movie, he's not lazy or fat, or he's strong as fuck. he's he's
Yeah.
but the other controversy was, and again, it had to deal with Maui too, when they released a costume of I think they termed it like deemed it like appropriation, where
Okay.
they basically was wearing like a brown suit with muscles in it, with all of Maui's tattoos, so like some white kid could wear it. So Disney
Oh,
pulled
the
the costume
Halloween
off.
costume you're
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah, pulled the Halloween costume off the
Yeah,
shelves.
I'd have to say that was a good move, pulling it off the shelves. That makes sense.
Yeah, but
You
when
don't
you're
want
dealing
something like
with
that.
this type of a movie and you want to market stuff, it's kind of like uh, being the inner child that I am, and I saw Maui do all these cool things. I would want tattoos too. And as a
Yeah.
kid, you know, you don't care. You were like, oh my god, I want to be Maui, because like I'm Chinese, and like I go put on a Batman mask when I was a kid. I didn't have to like tape my eyes open to not have like,
Batman's wiped.
yeah. So you know what I mean. So for a kid, I don't think it was a big deal. I think it's
Right.
more of I think it was more of like as they grow older, you think that it's okay to do something like that.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But again, the care that they took for this movie, um, that was probably a marketing thing and didn't have anything to do with the filmmakers. And again, the design of Maui was approved by
Well,
those people,
do you
the
think
Oceanic
though? I
Trust.
mean, I loved his look. I didn't think for one second, oh, they portraying a Polynesian person like as big and huge like that. I just thought he looked completely original, and it looked like The Rock. I was like, oh, this is so cool. And when he opened his mouth to talk, and then all of the tattoos, I love that character.
Yeah,
Whoever thought of the tattoo thing was genius. That was really really cool. It was like an extra character,
yeah,
in the movie. Um, and then his explanation of the tattoos, which was really cool. And because I kept thinking like, I don't understand what the point. I mean, it's really cool, but I don't understand the point of it. And then he explained later what it was, and I was like, that's really neat. Okay. Um, so you'll have to go watch the movie in order to know what I'm talking about. But anyway, yeah, I thought across the board the cast was great. I think the person that played Moana is someone new, and she is Hawaiian. Then you have Dwayne Johnson. What nationality is Dwayne Johnson? Is he Samoan
Yeah,
or is he
he's he's
okay?
half. I think he's like half Samoan, half African American, or something like that, or a quarter African American.
Okay.
I think I'm
And then
not
tomorrow
100%
morning,
sure.
and then they had two New Zealanders. They had Nicole Scherzinger, which I didn't know. Wasn't she the Pussycat Dolls or something like that?
Basically,
So I guess she played the
everybody
mom.
in this movie, the main cast, had some kind of Polynesian background,
Yeah. And then you
except,
added in Alan Tudyk,
but
the
he was
whitest
like,
white guy,
yeah, but he
but he
was
was
the
the
retarded
rooster.
chicken. So I don't know if they did that on purpose, but
I don't know that chicken they had a lot of laughs. I mean, that chicken was like suicidal. It was so funny.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it would be really interesting. I don't know if this is like one of those movies that they could remake, later on, kind of thing.
I don't.
Like Disney's on a kick right now doing live action movies.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking like I don't think they should remake it. I think they should, do a live action version of it, even though it just came out like 2 days ago. Because holy shit, I would love to see a live action version of this movie on the
It would look
ocean with the
incredible.
special effects that this movie like just the end, just the CGI for what Maui does would be amazing. But again, this
We're
movie
gonna have
just
to
came
wait
out two
10
days ago.
years.
Yeah, I know. We're gonna have
We'll
to
have
wait
to
a
wait.
long
The,
time.
the Frozen remake will come out first, I'm sure. The
Oh
Frozen live
fuck.
action.
I mean, my
Yeah.
kids just stopped listening to Let It Go. If that movie comes back out again, fuck.
Well, there's a sequel. They are making a sequel. I mean, you can't,
Yeah, I feel sorry
a
for the
$1 billion
guy.
movie.
I feel sorry for the guy or the woman actually. Whoever has to write the song for the second movie. Good luck. Good luck
Yeah, it's
trying
like
to overcome the phenomena that was. I think the song was bigger than the movie.
I think so too. That was kind of like the Titanic. You remember the Celine Dion song? Just
Yeah,
like, oh my
it was
gosh,
all summer.
holy cow!
It was funny.
Yeah.
I remember watching the Academy Awards when Frozen was up for Best Song, but it was Pharrell who performed. But I remember watching Pharrell perform
Oh yeah.
"Happy" from Despicable Me, and I'm just sitting
Yes.
there watching him do it. I'm like, dude, you have no fucking chance of winning. You have zero chance of winning. There is no way you are going to win. Like out of I would the odds of Let It Go losing that night, y- seriously, it would have never happened. Would have never happened.
He's like, can you have someone else perform Happy? Like
There's
really, like
like
I
you
really
could have gave the
don't.
judges $1 million each, and you still would have lost to Let It Go.
Well, I'm sure by now he's let it go. It's
No,
it's
you
over with.
fucking just didn't do that.
It's been overdone. Let it go. Anyway, so
The music in this
let's do
movie
our.
is phenomenal too. Like I know we talked about
It's
it,
really good.
and the reason why it flows so well is well basically Lin-Manuel's extremely talented, and at morphing or blending his music with the culture or the
Yes.
different languages. But he actually met with Polynesian people and linguists to get it right, and songwriters, singer songwriters that deal with this culture. He actually met with them to try to write this music.
Yeah, and like I said before, I've been a big fan of Disney's forever. I remember, I think it was The Little Mermaid when that came out. That kind of brought animation back in a big bad way, and then it became an event every year to go see a Disney movie, animated movie like Little Mermaid, and then Aladdin, and then just kept getting bigger and bigger, and then once Lion King hit, it hit a fever pitch, and then it kind of died down for a while because like I think the next one was like Pocahontas, and then some other ones, Hunchback
Hercules
and
pretty much killed it.
Hercules.
Hercules
Yeah,
is
they
the one that
weren't
killed
good.
it.
And then Tarzan kind of it was an uptick again when Tarzan came out because that's still one of my favorite Disney animated movies. And I remember Phil Collins doing the music for that, and I absolutely loved that. It was the first time that they had a singer songwriter like sing all the songs in the movie. It was fantastic. But yeah, when I was watching the movie and they started in song, I was like, oh man, really? But it they do such a great job that I totally dug it. I loved everything. All the songs are great. The one with the crab I think was probably my favorite. But I was really surprised when The Rock started singing. I was like, damn, that's awesome.
I knew he could sing though.
Because yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I thought it was fantastic. But the voice acting, everything was so just really on par, just really really solid. There is absolutely no complaints like that I saw throughout the movie where I was like, this is lame or no, whatever. I just everything about the movie was great. The way they put it together and everything. Not one time it took me out of the movie. And
No,
it's funny.
this movie is based. It's pretty perfect. There's not one bad
Yeah,
thing about this movie.
no, and it's fun. It's
Yeah,
super entertaining, and it definitely, when I get this movie here and my kids watch it, I'm totally gonna watch it with them because
there's
it's
no
that.
lull points either. There's no down beats in this movie. Like just from the very beginning, they set the tone with the
Yeah,
music.
absolutely.
With the music, the second the music kicks in, it's almost like The Lion King, where it has that
Yo,
like that I don't want to say like African music, but like that safari type music
yeah,
that comes in, it hooks you right away, and that's what happens in this movie. The second the movie opens, it's got that like Polynesian type music, and it just hooks you right in. Now you're in this world, and now
yeah,
we'll show you all the stuff. And what again, one of the hardest things to do is animate water. And holy shit, this like
they
think
went
about
beyond. They
yeah,
went beyond.
it was crazy. Everything in this movie is gorgeous.
Yeah, it really does make you want to take a trip over to Hawaii now. Like I'm really jonesing to go back now. But yeah, no, everything was fantastic. So I'm just gonna do my ratings real quick, but
Yeah.
definitely five chainsaws for me, and I'm definitely gonna say plethora for as far as the diversity rating. It's just a great cast all the way around, and just huge thumbs up for this movie. It's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, I five lightsabers for me and plethora of a diversity rating for me too. I can't remember the last time we actually had a plethora of a diversity
Yeah, it's
rating.
been a
Probably
while.
it was probably Zootopia. No, it
Yeah,
wasn't
actually, I
Zootopia.
think
No, we
probably
didn't start that then.
no something.
I don't
Nope,
remember. It's
it
been a
was
while.
something.
I don't know. I can't remember the last time we had a plethora rating. But yeah, I'm again the amount of care they took with this movie. So what was funny, I was in the theater and there was two or three times where like I teared up in the movie,
Hmm.
and I was like thinking, I was like, oh my god, this like you had seen it and you said it was good. You kind of given me a quick overview of where you thought it was standing, and I was like, all right, that's high praise to say it's like a little bit below Zootopia and a little bit below Inside Out. And I
Hmm.
remember coming out of the movie, I was like, oh my God. Or tearing up a few times. I was like, this movie is definitely better than Finding Dory. Um,
Yes.
I love Finding Nemo. Nothing will ever change that. But Finding Dory, even though it was really good, it didn't make me tear up. And we
No.
thought that was funny the last time. And it's weird how we judge cartoons based on whether or not you get emotional about it. But I remember like one of the parts in this movie that got me was when she and Maui, spoilers, were like parted ways,
Hmm.
and the stingray came out,
Yep.
and it was the grandmother. I
Yes.
was like, oh my god, like fuck you, Disney.
Yeah. Well,
I'm sitting
both
there, and
times.
my daughter is just like loving the animation, and I'm sitting there like almost practically weeping.
Yes.
And she thinks what she's looking at is cool. I'm looking at it like, oh my god, this is so fucking sad and awesome.
Well, both times the stingray showed up because it showed up at the beginning when she left, when she got on the boat to
Right?
leave. It showed up, and you're like, oh man, she passed away.
Yeah.
That really got me. I was like, oh my gosh, spoilers by the way. Um, but yeah, but yeah, they did get me a couple of times with that, and usually it had something to do with family, So, um, but the other things, like it was very, you know, there was some like thrilling moments, like they're gonna make it out okay, but there were some pretty cool thrilling moments. I think you know what I'm like the big lava monster thing was pretty cool.
Did you think of Waterworld when those coconut monsters came out?
Yes. I love that. I love
I
that
did
was
too.
that was kind of random. That was one thing about the movie. It was really random because you never see them again. But
Yeah.
they had to kind of add something in there, you know, to make it a little more exciting. But it was really well done. It's a very short scene, but these little coconut pirate things, they were really super funny. But yeah, that
It made me think of
oh,
Waterworld.
totally. That sequence was really thrilling too. Like there's a few sequences in this thing that will put you on the edge of your seat. Like which a lot of times animated films don't do that. It's it's really good. You know, there's a lot of emotions that you'll have through the movie. Like most of it is humorous, but there's thrilling moments, there's very like soft like intimate moments or emotional moments, that kind of thing. And I do, like you talked about in the beginning, I do really like the fact that they didn't have some damsel in distress or some dude that's going to show up and rescue her, you know, a love interest anyway, to show up and sweep her
Yeah,
off her
so
feet and stuff like that.
so one of the great things that Disney's been doing is this evolution of female empowerment. I mean,
Hmm.
we see it in Star Wars. I mean, the Force Awakens has now the most powerful person in the universe or their galaxy is a female,
Hmm.
and the main character of Rogue One that's coming out in 3 weeks is a female. So
Oh,
Disney is
can't
on
wait.
this kick of finally giving women their due, and this movie um, not only puts it all on the girl, but she basically doesn't need anybody. When you think about the ending, I won't give away the ending,
Hmm.
but when you think about the ending, did she really need Maui?
I don't think so. I think, yeah, I don't think
Think
so.
about how she figured it out and solved it.
Yeah,
And
but I
and
also have to say, like that scene, it's almost as if he wasn't necessarily saving her. I think he was doing that for himself too. Like I think he because
maybe I think that's like a Han Solo moment right
yeah,
there,
totally,
like
totally.
from A New Hope is what happens there. Um, and essentially in that case, like yeah, I guess the way Lucas shot it, he kind of needed Han there because Vader was about to pull the trigger, but
Right,
let's not forget, like it's not like he shot Vader. So,
right. Well,
but
that would have been the end of the
anyway,
saga. It'd be the end.
yeah,
How A New Hope should have ended. Yeah, but
yeah. If Chewie was a better shot,
right. Well, blame Chewie.
yeah, you had one job, Chewie. You
Well,
fucking
yeah,
missed.
he shoots Kylo Ren in the gut once. Like, why didn't you shoot him a couple times? He just shoots him once and then runs away. I'm like, come on. And that was a
Yeah,
pretty crack shot, man, from that far. It's
I
like,
know.
damn,
But can you do that
Chewie.
from the Falcon?
Yeah, Chewie rage. But yeah, but this is a fantastic movie, folks. You have to run out and see it. There are actually some pretty decent movies out right now, and some really decent ones that looks like they're coming out for the end of the year, all the way till the end of the year. So this is a really great time right now. Really good movie season. And I'm really looking forward to what's coming up. But yeah, anything you want to add to Moana? I think we just kind of said everything.
Yeah, I think we gushed a lot about this movie. It's such a great movie.
Well,
It's amazing that I think three of the best films I've seen this year. Is it this year? Are
yeah,
animated.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see where our rankings are, you know, from when we started in January till the end of the year.
I can tell you that Moana was definitely not in my top 10 in
No,
the beginning of the year.
I don't even think Zootopia was even in our top 10 either. So
Nope.
Finding Dory was there, but we got to shuffle.
It was there.
It'll definitely have some things shuffled around, that's for sure. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But anyway, that's episode 55 of Chew on This, a Nerds United podcast. I'm BJ.
Vic,
Until next time, chew on that, folks.
later.